What's going on? Welcome into TFEs, a slightly better sounding version than last week.
Yeah.
We're getting there. We're healthy, and we got a lot on the docket to get to today. Let's start with TFEs off the top, though. Thoughts, feelings, emotions, because I have a couple that I think are going to come out based off of yours.
Okay. You sexy librarian, you. What a gear you have on right now. Where do these glasses come from?
I've had these glasses. These are always my, I barely have any makeup on and hide my face. Very scratched blue light
Those are different
glasses.
colors. You use that. The ones I like, they're different ones.
These aren't the Jeffrey Dahmer ones.
Yeah, which was creepy that I said I like that, but I'm into them. Weird.
Yeah, I think we totally compensated for what we looked like last week with dressing.
I think I almost look the
week.
same. I have jeans on that look like my sweatpants, and I have
a sweater. I feel like we could go to a holiday party right now, the two of us.
I feel festive. You.
I mean, I'm not
fallish.
festive.
You look fallish,
yeah, I'm
but
fall. I could go to like a fall party.
Or hang out in the library and make suggestive looks at me.
Well,
there we go.
Okay.
All right, here we are. Am I going first? Is that what that was?
Yeah.
Thoughts. This is weird. Maybe I should start. Like, my thoughts are like scattered. I don't know if I have thoughts. I'm over here trying to figure out. I'm in a phenomenal mood.
You are in a really good mood. That's part of why I wanted you to go off the top.
I mean, I don't know if it's like we are getting healthy. My nasal passages are working again, partially. That's why I'm excited. We're going to visit my family tomorrow. We're leaving for a couple days, which despite literally all this, as I look around, people can't see behind the camera, my clothes just strewn about.
Yeah, thank God. They were
also,
just on the door behind me.
Yeah, also, that's my closet over there. We're not in our bedroom. That's my closet. But anyway, I digress.
You're so kind. You're such a good husband.
You've 12 closets down there.
I wish.
Yeah, I wish too. I like him. We have, I still have so many things to do for work. You're about to leave for work. So I'm solo with the Dace Man. I haven't packed a thing. I haven't thought about what I need to pack. For some reason, that's not bothering me at all. I feel great. I think it might be because we're going to visit my family. I checked, it's 70 degrees down there in Sarasota right now. Maybe because we're going to play golf. I don't know. Or I'm going to play golf. I don't know. I'm in a very, I don't know. There's a lot of energy. I feel very positive. I'm excited. And it's a very big departure because whenever Lyra leaves for the days we're not going to see her for a couple days when she goes back to her mom, I'm usually bummed out for a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think the thought of seeing other family and friends that I haven't seen in a long time, I think I'm excited about that and hadn't really pondered it very much. So yeah, I think I'm just I feel excited, positive. Emotions are very energetic and very grateful that we get to do this. And yeah, I think also I had 2 full meals for breakfast and lunch and have not worked out, and I feel this way. So I don't know what's going on, but I feel great. How are you?
I don't think I've had breakfast or lunch, so you're in a much better space than me there. You are in a really good mood, really, just like the last hour too. It's not like you woke up all chipper. You weren't like in a bad mood.
Well, I got up at 6 to start cranking out work. Maybe I feel like less is on. I'm sorry, it's your turn. Go ahead. You. This is you, librarian.
This is a dialogue. It's okay. It's not a monologue. I still don't feel good. I don't know why I can't shake this, but I definitely feel better than I have. Which before I get to the rest of it, I just want to go off on a tangent for a second.
Please. Because
I'm so glad to hear you're saying that you're feeling better. I mean, on the drive to the North Pole last night, I thought you might not make it. Is there anything
you love
more
when
dramatic
a guy is sick
than a husband or a man being sick?
It's not sick. I don't mind being sick, and I think I pushed through it. It's the fact that literally both my nasal patches were completely full, so I'm just over here going, I sound like Darth Vader.
What I've been doing for a week and a half.
And then I tried
Jace has been doing for 2.5 weeks, and we've just been living in the whole car. Oh, this is so. Oh, I need another tissue. Do we have any other men?
No,
what do we?
We're not making this up.
We got to go 2 days ago. We got to go to the store right now. I can't wait. We got to go get Sudafed right now.
I was sitting here watching you do an Instagram post. I'm pretty sure we can go get the Sudafed while I'm sitting here doing nothing.
I'm just saying the drama.
Yo, I almost choked on my banana bread. All right. I tried to eat something, and because my nose wouldn't allow me to have oxygen at the same time, I was, and I realized, okay, this eating thing may not work in my current state.
I stand by my question. Is there anything more dramatic than a sick man?
You're not worried about me breathing. That seems concerning. That
You're
seems
here.
weird.
You did
I made
great.
it. We survived. The passages cleared up as
Your
we got on
year
the
and a
train.
half year old figured out how to eat and have a stuffy nose for the last 2
It's
weeks.
not stuffy. I think it's what you're missing. There was the nasal passages were
You
completely
were
inflamed and closed.
so much more
There was
sick
no
than
air
we
coming in.
were.
It's not sick. There's no more air coming in. It's not about being sick. Physically, I could not breathe through my nose. That's a problem. But it's not about the complaint of sick. It's like I like to breathe. I like living. I kind of need it to function. But yeah.
I like you
God
living
bless.
too.
Thank you. Doesn't
so
sound like
glad.
it.
I'm
Sounds
so
like
glad
sounds
you're
like you
feeling
wanted me
better.
to not breathe and wanted me to just suck it up.
No, I would never want that. I just wanted to point out.
And yes,
how
I had to occasionally ask
were
you for a
going
tissue
through it.
because if we're sick and I put the tissue strategically in the console so I could reach them, you then took them and put them into the glove compartment where only you could reach them. Why?
Because where you sat them, as soon as you moved your water bottle out, they were going to fall in the cup holder. So every time we were going to have to move where they were.
Fine, but if it was bothering you to have access to them, allow me to have access, a la the group of 16 to the playoff. Allow the access to the tissue, please.
I didn't care about your access. I didn't care about your access.
You're one of these powerful schools. You're trying to prevent my access.
I cared about your attitude. Okay.
attitude
Your
was
attitude
good.
about the access. Okay, Notre Dame.
I thought I can yell at you like you're the ACC if you want. I felt,
No, you can't because you do not stand by that. You would not fake that.
Are we gonna get into that at all in this pod?
You probably should. We're
Probably
here
should.
right now. You want to
People
touch
that
it?
listen, what the hell are you talking about? If you don't watch college football, if my mom's listening, she's like, "What in the hell are these random Notre Dame references?" If she's understood anything I've said so far, I've been talking fast. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead. My nose was great.
Okay, so Notre Dame.
We can do it now. We were on the North Pole as well. We can come back to the
Yeah, we got a lot. My feelings and emotions didn't hit yet either. I am excited to see the family. You know what I think it is? Like we've had a lot. Like there've been a lot of things that we can look forward to over the little things, trips, plans, dates, whatever it is. But it feels like everything else always comes with something. And I think this trip is just like, okay, this is what we're doing. We're not trying to, we're trying to cram in a lot while we're there, but it's not like we also have XYZ with work. We also have this. We also have that. What are we doing? Yeah, on the 19th hour tonight, I'm going to get home from work. And we're going to leave 4 hours later and go to the airport, but whatever. Mm-hmm. But you know what I mean? It feels like more focused on just like, this is what we're doing versus having to think of 12 other steps ahead. So
I think that's fair. Do you want to finish your emotions before I respond to that?
I'm excited. I got days packed already, so that makes me
impressive.
Getting his clothes packed is one thing. Getting the rest of the stuff packed for the baby is what takes the longest. Yeah, and I'm just in a good mood over the North Pole. I thought last night we got to take a train to a real steam. I almost said steamboat because it is. It's like the train and steamboat. A real train, the Polar Express to the North Pole here in Connecticut. Amazing that we could get to the North Pole from Connecticut, but it was pretty awesome.
It felt like it. It was cold.
It was so cold. But it was just so special. We talked about it on the podcast before. I love the holidays. You love the holidays. Obviously, the meaning of them is something that's really important to us. But then the magic is really, really sweet at this age too. And as we're juggling plans and driving 2 hours round trip and, this Elf on the Shelf and everything else, we're I looked at you the other day and I was like, who knows if next year will be the same? Who knows how long it's going to be this magical for Lyra? And obviously then Dace will start to understand more and that'll be a different magic. But I don't know. It's just a good reminder as we, jumped out of bed to check on good old Ariola the elf and see what she was up to. It was just a good reminder that, all of these things that sometimes are a quote unquote burden or, oh, I forgot this or, oh, we have to do that. It's back to what we've said on this podcast before as we get to. Yeah. And who knows how long you get to.
Yeah, when you said that the other day, that was kind of a sobering thought for me. Because yes, you wanted to go to the Polar Express. We had to reserve the tickets 3 months in advance. I was bitching about it then. Wasn't all that excited yesterday to go. I was like,
I blame it on your nose, babe. That's all. You were so sick.
Well, I was like, yeah, all right, I think I was excited for Lyra because once we told her on Sunday, she was so juiced.
That's all she talked about.
Yeah, and I think that gets me being like, all right, this will be cool. You're gonna, and we had fun. I did enjoy it, and I think there's a lot of things that's why our partnership kind of works well. These are things that I wouldn't do on my own, obviously. You're the greatest Elf on the Shelf person I think there is on the Eastern Seaboard, at least. I mean, I know I've seen some things on Instagram what people are doing. You're doing some high level elfing here, high level elfing. And if anybody's listening in the car, sorry, with your kids, sorry, but there's some high level elfing going on. Whatever you're doing, the plans, the write ups, train arrival, all these different things you think of.
Just help him find the elf. That's it. She just shows up in a different place every morning when I go down there. It's crazy.
Exactly. It is amazing how Ariola takes care of that. Yeah, I think it was a sobering thought to be like, yeah, what if next year she's way more skeptical and not as and that could happen, you know? And she already said yesterday about some of her friends, well, that's not the real Santa. So we're that age where they're starting to combat it, and kids are the cool kids or whatever trying to poo-poo the other kids, or however it works. The kids think they're cool.
There's definitely the cool kid.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, that was really hit me hard, and I was like, okay, that's a good reminder. I hope this is like this, but I will, as she ages out, Dace will be in the thick of it. She will be an awesome big sister in the fact that she's never going to try to like ruin it for him and keep it going. Kind of like the kid we sat across from going to the North Pole. He seemed a little old for that experience. But he was, real chill and positive and didn't like poo-poo anything, sang a little bit. I was wondering if he got on the train if he would be, because he had a little sister that looked like she was like 3 or 4, like in the peak of it. I wondered how he would interact, and he was cool, and he was
he was more than cool. Dace went over and laid his head on that little kid's lap out of nowhere. Dace was getting tired, and he like shimmied up to the little boy and then just put his head right on the lap, and the little boy was so sweet and like patted his back. I was like, oh my gosh. Now his parents did have Mickey Mouse on their shirt, so I think Dace realized I want to be part of this family.
They're good people. These are my people, Mick. But yeah, I think that was sobering to realize. Like I've said that like 6 times now because it really hit me. And yeah, we're living it up, and we're gonna have a very busy couple weeks here. And I was thinking about this. I was like, man, we just going from one thing to the next, which is typical. We are agents of chaos a little bit. But once we hit the new year, there's like not much plan, and there's like a lot of work for both of us, and we get into different seasons. And I think we'll look back and be really happy we did all this despite the illness and despite other things. Like we are packing it in, and Lyra is like the best audience for this because she's so appreciative and she loves it so much that it makes it, well worth doing.
And now Dace is starting to run around, look for the elf, and scream some version of Ariola, which I just cut my eyes at you every time that we haven't changed the elf's name.
We're not.
But here we are.
They'll laugh about it when they're 30 and 25. They'll think it's hilarious. It's a story
we got a long time before then.
Well, they'll tell their friends like that. They're adults, and then they'll have their own kids. They will tell that story. That will be a lifetime memory.
Yeah, it's a lifetime memory for us too. Okay. So I think those were all my thoughts, feelings, and emotions. Do you have anything else to get off your chest about the college football playoff?
I mean, did you have any thoughts, feelings, and emotions on that? I mean, I feel like in years past, maybe you were more connected to certain team success or certain things happening. How did you feel about it?
I felt like it was going to go Miami's way. I really did. I just thought that all the signs were like...
Let me cut you off real quick. For anybody who's listening, has no clue what we're talking about. The top 12 teams go to the college football playoff, and they are selected by...
This is not a sports podcast, so let's explain.
They are selected by a committee of people. Now, they release these rankings every week from basically the beginning of November till now, so you see where teams fall. Miami had not been in the top 12 since they lost a game in the second week of November.
More importantly, not in the top 10.
Not in the top... We're not going to get to the machinations of why the 10 mattered more than 12, but it's a long story. You essentially had to be in the top 10 to get one of the... at-large 12 spot, one of the at-large spots of the 12 teams. It's a little convoluted to keep it simple. That said, Miami had not been in that space, and in their area was Notre Dame, a team they played and beat in September, and a team in Alabama who was had 2 losses as well, but then had a 3rd loss in a conference championship game, which only a couple teams played in. So do you penalize that team?
Yes, but you're doing a lot. Here's the big point. In all of these rankings, Notre Dame was ahead of Miami.
Yes, ma'am.
In the beginning ones, significantly ahead of Miami. Yeah. Miami wasn't playing good at the time the first rankings came out. That was when they lost 2 of 3. Notre Dame was ahead of them. But as the season evened out, the committee continued to drop Notre Dame slightly, continued to raise Miami up in the rankings so they were closer, and continued to say 2 things. We haven't compared head-to-head yet. They're not close enough. We are aware of it, and if they get close enough, head-to-head will matter.
Head-to-head means they play
the fact that Miami beat Notre Dame would matter if it came down to it. And number 2, the committee chair specifically said that you could even if you weren't playing on conference championship weekend, which Miami wasn't, we don't have time to get into all that. Even if you weren't playing, your rankings could still move, which was different than last year when they said that it was not going to happen. So I felt like the committee was, of all, hearing the outcry from people. Because usually when it comes to ACC things, it's just us over here on the ACC network standing on an island saying, this is wrong, this needs to happen. This was everyone saying that this is wrong, and that if it came outside of Notre Dame and their fans saying that it needed to happen, that Miami beat them head to head, and if it came down to it, they needed to go. So Miami goes to the college football playoff. Notre Dame gets left out. I feel for Notre Dame, first of all.
Yeah.
You have me ranked ahead of them every single time. You had any opportunity to look at the head-to-head. You just said you weren't doing it yet because it was part of the protocol that whatever. Shut up. It should matter. When the first rankings came out and there were like 8 spaces between them, okay, fine. Maybe you don't compare them then. But when there's 3, 4 around and you know we're getting to the end of a thing and you're going to have to make a hard decision. So I thought the committee was laying the groundwork that they were going to do it. So when I walked out of the ACC championship and there were a lot of worried looking faces of what was going to happen and was the conference going to get left out of the playoff altogether, I really felt like Miami was going to be in. I think they did the right thing. I think Miami deserves to be in. I think Miami is a college football playoff team that has the potential to make a run. The only thing that I feel for Notre Dame on is you had us ranked ahead of them the whole time. So I do feel for them and their players and Marcus Freeman, their head coach, that like, you feel a little bit blindsided because if you thought that they should be ahead of us, you could have done it at any point. And they didn't because that's just how they operate. But Miami deserved to be in there, not Notre Dame. The fact that Notre Dame, is not playing in a bowl game, I think is ridiculous.
Let's come back to that in a second. That'll be point in discussion number 2. I do think anybody listening to this and is not a sports person, they will have heard us all say a lot of words there. I said, then you said. But the key part is you said, well, Miami beat Notre Dame this year. I'm sure they're in their car. They'd be listening and be like, what are you guys talking about? Miami beat Notre Dame. Why does it matter? Like, what is all this other stuff? Because when it comes down to brass tacks, we do play the games for a reason. So if one team beat another, to the most common sense or novice or uneducated person on it, they'd be like, well, wouldn't that mean they're better?
And everything else is almost the same. That's what matters.
In terms of other metrics. But I guess that is the point. When you look at the basics of competition, we play to win the game, to quote Herm Edwards. They won the game.
But that was in September.
It was in September. Part of the reason that they go is that I think it is how the committee has done this in recent years. When you lose, almost matters as much as who you lose to. Notre Dame lost their first 2 games, one to Miami, one to Texas A&M, the first 2 big games to Texas A&M. They have the whole season to build up and build a narrative and win games like they did last year after losing to Northern Illinois, the lowest ranked team to ever beat a team to have a chance to play to a college football playoff. We've never seen that before. With a power loses to a very, very small program, still finds a way to play in that space because we didn't have 12 teams until last year. So they get to build up all through the course of the year. They control their own schedule. They play 5 ACC opponents. They control their own schedule every year, add other components. Nobody else has the luxury to do that. Sometimes it benefits them. This year, it hurt them. I feel bad for where they're at. The process is the problem. The weekly rankings are the problem. We shouldn't have it. I get why they do. ESPN makes a lot of money. People watch them, and you sell sponsorships against it. Great advertising. They build basketball games around that event because they want to grow the basketball audience, and they're bringing more people just to watch a show to find out where their team is ranked or what teams are ranked where. That has to go away because every week the committee then has to explain themselves, and all they do is get into these pretzels and knots and twists.
I don't think it has to go away. I just think they have to be more transparent about what they're actually doing and valuing.
Well, because that's the problem. Is like you can say this is what we valued in week 10, but when we get to week 14, you're right. The consistency may not be there. Because my thing is, they got in a room and they said, "Okay, these are the 2 teams. Are we really going to let one team go that lost to this very team?"
Yeah.
I think they just looked themselves in the mirror and said, "We can't do that.
Can't
do that." So this is the whole point. Is you can have these different theories and thoughts. I do think the process is what Notre Dame is upset about. The process of how this thing worked out. Because they felt blindsided. I feel like there's just no need for these weekly ranking shows other than ratings. It doesn't benefit the committee at all. It doesn't even benefit the teams. You should do it like college basketball. A month till Selection Sunday, the NCAA tournament committee puts out their top 16. Here's a snapshot of where you look right now. You can go up or down, but here's where you're at now. They could do that in week 8 like they do every year. It's the first week of November. You got a month at the end of the season. You can go up or down. So you have a sense of where you are, but you don't really know. That's fine. You don't need this because the CFP committee chair constantly is putting their foot in their mouth, constantly is contradicting themselves because it's a hard job. And things do change week to week. So what we thought about Alabama 5 weeks ago when they looked like world beaters, they don't look like that now. And it's harder to explain that than just saying they're not playing well.
Yeah, but I feel like a lot of times it can be justified. Like, honestly, the 2 times that it's been the worst are this time and then when Florida State got left out the last year that we had 4. I know that it was not easy for Boo Corrigan, who was the chair at the time, the backlash that, they got from that and that you hear. And it's a hard job for the people that are in that room. I know that, but I don't know. I like the rankings leading up to it. I just think you need to know more about how we actually got here, and you need to make it make sense. You need to say, this is what we value the most. This is actually what matters. And they kind of swerve their way through that. Anyways, I don't want to get too in the weeds on this.
But the reason you can't do that is because ultimately there's all these stakeholders, and there's the business of college football, and there's institutions you're protecting. You're trying to protect conference championship games. That's why Alabama's in my opinion. If they didn't care about keeping conference championship games, maybe they drop Alabama out.
Yeah.
But no, you can't. You don't want to penalize a team.
Notre Dame's playing better
of
than
Alabama's stature. I mean, Notre Dame's the 4th favorite by the bookies. Yeah. So let's just be real clear. By the people that bet and are always right, they think they're the 4th best team in the country.
Well, that I think is crazy.
I don't. The way they've played, I don't think that's crazy at all. I think that we could have seen that play out.
Have you looked at who they played?
Have you looked at Vegas's odds and how often they are correct?
No, of course not. I don't understand any of that.
If their power rankings are phenomenal, and they're using so many different computers and analytics, and how that's why they have those big buildings out there. They're usually right. So their argument that this is the 4th best team in the country, fine. You want to say they're 4th or 5th or 6th? I do know that they should be in there. Problem is, you lost to Miami. And you lost Texas A&M. Who else is in there?
And this is the last thing I'm going to say about this because I don't want to get too in the weeds. But what I kept saying is the committee was going to have a decision to make about, like, which path do you want to have to face in the future? Because if they left Alabama out, they were going to have to face people aren't going to play conference championships in the future. If you left Miami out, well, why are we playing big games at the beginning of the year if they don't matter?
Those are the 2 institutions.
And if you left Notre Dame out, now you see what's happening in bowl games don't matter. And
okay, but why do you care if they play in the Pop-Tarts Bowl? Like, why does it matter? Like, there's Notre Dame.
Because you quit. You didn't get your way. You always get your way. You're Notre Dame. You think that you walk in there and get whatever you want in this regard, and they didn't get it, and they quit.
But what are you competing for? They're exhibitions where guys, remember De'Aaron King, the Miami quarterback a couple years ago?
I think
blows out his knee in a pointless
opting
bowl
out
game.
Is different than an entire team quitting just because they're mad.
But think about that. That kid blew out his knee. He was supposed to be Heisman candidate. His game was never the same. His career was never the same.
And that's why I said
these things are multi-million-dollar decisions for players and universities.
Players opting out is different than an entire team being upset and walking away.
They're there to compete for championships. I just don't think. Why do we care about playing in some exhibition?
Well, I think we need to look at restructuring what we do with bowls and the college football playoff, anyways. But I just don't like the idea of it that you didn't. I get the disappointment, and I understand why they're disappointed, and they should be disappointed, and they should feel let down by the committee that they thought they were in this whole time, and then you blindsided me. You just got broken up with like right before prom, your senior prom. You were in your dress. You were in your tux. These are football players. You were in your tux with your boutonniere on, about to walk out the door, and you just got broken up with before your senior prom. Like, that's pretty sad.
But did that girl tell you 3 months before, I don't want to go to prom with you? Because Miami did beat Notre Dame 3 months before. You could have seen this coming.
You might could have seen it coming.
There you go.
But not when all of her friends, the committee, said, "You're good. You're good. Week 1, you're good. Week 2, you're good. You're good.
They
You're
did
good.
lay the groundwork. The 2 previous weeks, they moved a spot each week.
You were hearing it from all the other people in the room that you were good.
But then Betty Sue told you, the best friend, you could be in trouble here. You could be out.
Man. Okay. I didn't even know we were going to go there, but
hard left into the real world now?
Hard. Yeah, you want to make a hard left?
Go ahead.
One of the things that I proposed to you was the idea of, and maybe this applies to Notre Dame and these players, of making space for something. So, we've shared a lot about our last year, and there's been different challenges, and there's been some that we haven't shared yet, and I'm sure we will in time. But when you want something to go your way, or when you have a plan and it doesn't, I feel like that is such a hard space to be in for anyone, no matter what it is. Life, work, relationships, anything. So one of the things that I've been thinking about is trying to continue to change my mindset and reframe it as, what is God making space for? So what does this change allow me that staying and operating under the same status quo wouldn't have? Or what has this time allowed me? Like, what in my life am I making space for? Is God making space for? And part of that, I think, is, trying to allow myself to like think outside the box, a little more creativity. But the hard part of that is even when I'm in that mindset of like, okay, what am I making space for? You don't know the answer. Mm-hmm. So you're just having to trust and believe and lean on the power of positive thinking and lean on yourself and people around you to think that like, okay, there is something better out there. It's like when you get broken up with, like, oh, don't worry. Like they weren't right for you. There's something better. Well, yeah, maybe in 5 years, I'm going to feel that space was made for something much better that I could have never seen, a life that I could have never known. But in that moment, I mean, you're like devastated. So I think the balance of like figuring out like how you live in this space of the hurt or the disappointment or the change or whatever it is that you're fighting through, and try and change that to like, what is there being space being made for in my life right now? Does that make sense?
It does. Let me ask you before I hate asking you. You didn't really ask a question, so I'll ask another question before I give you my thoughts. Do you feel that, because you mentioned God in your response, and we've talked about religion a little bit on this pod, we'll probably have a broader conversation at some point, but do you feel like being very religious helps you find the space? Does it make it easier? Does it make it harder because you're questioning, a higher being, if you will? Like, how does that play into how you think or feel about this?
It's a good question. I think when hard things happen, at first it has a tendency to make it harder, because for me, you say like, why? Like, why, God? Why this? When we had the miscarriage, why? Like, why did this happen? Why are we going through this? When you lost your job, when my job has changed, when we don't have help up here, when things are falling through, I'm going, why us? But the religious piece of it and trying to flip it to the positive, because living in the why doesn't get you anywhere except for miserable. It makes you resentful. It makes you angry. It makes you question everything around you. And if they're, when you are religious, it makes you question God. So living in the why is hard. So yes, it makes me first do that. But then second, I do feel like it grounds me more, because then I just, to me, like with believing that there is a God that, came to save us and loves me and is here to have all of our best interests in mind, even when we can't see it, then I feel like that's the space that I'm in. Like, what is God making space for that I don't know? What is he protecting me from? What is he moving me towards that maybe if I was on this tunnel line vision before, that I wouldn't have had time or space for? Or maybe if we had, 2 under 2 right now, that we would have XYZ happening instead. I feel like it gives me a purpose to the why, because it gives me a way to say, okay, I can be purposeful in my thinking, because I can think that I am moving towards something that God is making space for that I don't even know yet.
Yeah. I mean, I think how I view it, the religious piece of it, I don't have. And I don't know if that helps me or hurts me. That's why I kind of asked the question. So let me give you a little, like, my experience primarily this is I always hear my mom's voice when these things happen, like they're really bad things. She goes, everything happens for a reason. This all stemmed from when I was 14 years old. We moved from Pittsburgh to Florida, and you're going into high school. I was going to go into high school. My whole, I'm a planner. You talk about planning, and how you started this was when you have this intention, you have this plan. Like I'm going to go to this high school. I'm going to break all Derek's records, all the basketball records. I'm going to go be a division player. Brother. Yeah, I'm going to have a great career. Blah, blah, blah. All this stuff is set. You know exactly where I'm going to do. That all changes. We moved to Florida. We go from school where everybody in town knows us to nobody knows us. The school has almost 3,000 kids. It's like a small college. I guess at that point it's like 2,500. It's a huge school. And I'm like, what? Trying to find your way. And I'm miserable in the first couple weeks. And I guess I never told you this because I brought this up to you the other day, talking about, like, I don't know how I didn't, or maybe you didn't remember. That's possible. I don't know. But I was just so bummed the first couple weeks. Like, you're just going into high school, you don't know anybody, bus by yourself, lunch by yourself. We didn't start basketball workouts yet. I'm like lost. I'm coming home complaining to my mom. She's upset. Her whole family is still where we all left. She doesn't want to be in Florida, but she just kept telling me, everything happens for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. Just kept saying it. Basketball starts, and then my whole world changes. I also did realize how BS people are in high school are. It's just like, oh, now you want to be my friend? Because I can make a basket? Like, man, this place sucks. But that helps cloud, like, helps my understanding of the world I was in, and as I move forward through adolescence. But I look back on that, like, if I didn't go move there, I wouldn't have been that good a player. Probably wouldn't have been a Division I player. I wouldn't have probably gone to Columbia. Like, if I didn't break my wrist my junior year, flew off the rim, broke my wrist, maybe I'm a more recruited player. I don't go to Columbia. Maybe go to some other mid-major program.
Did you guys hear flew off the rim?
Flew off the rim, broke my wrist. Great job. The day before Thanksgiving, mind you, for my junior year. So I missed almost all my junior year, which is the most important year for recruiting. End up going to a school and an experience in a city that I never would have had, most likely. Like, and I look back on a lot of these things, I would always say, everything happens for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. Part of my response to that, though, is I will question the why, but then I look inward and try to figure out, like, okay, what do I have to do to find the reason why, to find the work through. I always feel like I put my head down, work harder, figure it out. It will work out. But to your point, you are at times trusting that, are you making the right decisions? And you never know. You just hope when you look back, these were the things that you did that made things positive. I do think at times, like, if I had a more religious grounding, would that help me or hurt me? Would that make me sit in the why more and question it, and then want to believe that there's a reason or a higher power that's guiding me to this? Or to be more in the space that I'm in, is like, I got to go figure this out now. And at times that can be frustrating, and at times it may bother you. Like, there was a period this summer I was getting up at 5 a.m. just to, like, work on stuff because I felt like I needed to do something. Like, I needed the time to, like, do whatever it was. And some of that has materialized into some things that may be real. So, okay, I look back, was that the right decision? I don't know. But I feel like everything happens for a reason is, like, my mantra, but then I feel like I have to go make it worthwhile, or make it actually create the positive change I want, to look back and have the outcome that I want when I look back and say, I'm grateful that happened. It was hard at the time, but I'm grateful that happened.
Yeah, and I hear you. I would say that when you are looking inward and you are saying, what are you doing to make these things happen, that God had a plan all along. That God pushed you out of your comfort zone, that you went through this to get there. Because if God is good, then there has to be a good coming. And, I think I'm lucky. I think I lived growing up a pretty charmed life. And, there were hard things and there were loss, but, nothing like we've experienced lately. And I feel like the other thing that keeps happening is when things are hard or when I'm down about something, I just feel like I keep getting humbled by somebody else's hard. Mm-hmm. Like, somebody else that I love, they share something with me and their heart just smacks me in the face. Like, man, how lucky are we?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Which is interesting because it doesn't make your heart any less hard, or doesn't make it hurt any less. But it almost, like, for me, as such an empathetic person, makes me hurt more for somebody else and makes me sit in the gratitude of what we have and where I am and, what we are working towards, even in the steps of the hard, which is why I like the mindset of, like, when things are hard, like, what is their space being made for? Like, what's the purpose of that? And the challenge is you don't know.
Yeah. You
can have your ideas, like you're saying, like you sat there and you were driven and you were like, okay, I'm going to turn this into something. I would say that's also like being competitive. I'm going to, this can go wrong, but I'm going to prove you why it's right. I think that's like an athlete's mindset too. And I think I have it as well. If I don't get what I want, then I'm going to work really hard to show you why that was the wrong decision, or why you needed me, or why you should have made me the like captain of the team, or whatever it is, growing up. But that doesn't make it easier when you're in that space.
I actually think for me it does. When I hear the perspective piece of it, when I hear other people, and then it's like, bro, that's a real world problem.
Yeah.
Like I'm like even like, yes, you're moving at 14, your world is turned upside down. That's not losing a parent at 14, or hearing you have cancer at 14, or something crazy.
Exactly.
That's really challenging. So it's like taking those things in stride, understand the perspective of it, because I do think. I just had a friend of mine tell me last week something that I was just like, geez, man, makes me be grateful for our situation and grateful for our challenges within our situation.
Yeah.
Because Lord knows I don't want that challenge. And I empathize for them, want to find a way to help them and support them in whatever way possible. But there are those perspective moments help kind of like shake me to be like, all right, dude, yeah. Everything happens for a reason. Try to explain that. Like that's really hard to explain. We can figure out your stuff a different time. Like that, I think helps puts me in my place a bit. I think you said humbles me in my, if there is a woe is me, if there is the frustration, if there's or the I'm going to figure this out. I'm like, yeah, you will. But there's other more pressing stuff that's going on out there. I think that actually, as bad as it helps me to like, just have better perspective, I think.
The other thing about perspective too, obviously other situations, other people's situations can humble us in different ways and can give us a greater perspective. And this is a little bit different and a little bit lighter, but I think like when I think back on life, whether it was high school or middle school or, one of the moments that you thought was like a world changing moment, like life was over because this guy broke up with me, or life was over because I sent the wrong text message to the wrong friend and now they knew that I was talking about them, or, like these moments that
I'm
felt
too old. I don't know that, but go ahead.
These moments that felt so big and so earth shattering, and that like, you were younger and you're like, how do I move forward from this embarrassment or from this moment? And like, you sit here and you're like, I did,
Yeah.
It seemed like it was the biggest thing ever. And it's silly because like, our problems when we're children, if we're lucky, are small, and they feel really big. But I think about too, like I remember the first time I went back to my middle school, and I was probably, I don't know, I guess, yeah, it was my middle school. And I remember walking in and being like, this is not the same middle school. This is tiny. Like the ceilings are like right up. Wait, I can like the cafeteria is right there. That classroom's like 3 doors away. Everything felt so huge and so big and so scary and so new. And then you come back and you get the perspective of like, oh my God, is this how our teacher saw it? Yeah. Like, life is just so funny because the more you live, the more perspective that you get. And whether it's a big thing or a small thing, I do think that it helps to look back and realize, okay, what are those moments that you thought like you weren't going to make it through? No, I'm not kidding. I'm saying whether they were when you were young or whether they were like, I didn't know how to get out of the car the day that we left the ultrasound and we had lost the baby. Like, what are the moments that you were like, I literally, as an adult, didn't know how to put one foot in front of the other, but I did. Like, what is the next step? And that next step, I think, is living in that space of, okay, I don't know what this is, but how can I use this time, this space, this opportunity, this place I'm living, this whatever it is that you did not foresee? How can I use that for me, like you're saying you did? Or for us, or for, whatever unfulfilled dream and desire you have. And maybe it's worth writing down too. I think if, as we've talked about journaling before, like if you are in those tough moments or, these, what the hell, where am I going? What am I doing? Like you look around and you're like, this isn't what I thought with life. If you look back on that moment 5 years from then, like what would you learn from a place probably of gratitude for whatever got you through it at that time?
When you made the example of being like when we were younger, I was trying to think about my parents, like how they reacted to some of these things, because you think your world is collapsing. Yeah. They know that it's not collapsing, but they also want you to feel like it's somewhat supported, I imagine. Like I don't remember my dad being that much consoling, but my mom trying to like be like, all right, let's work you through this. Work you through some of these things that you think are a huge deal that aren't that big of a deal. And let's try to give you perspective, even as a young person. How do your parents play a role within in now? Because we're always parents. I was popping my head thinking about like, yeah, Lyra's going to have these same issues when she's 12. And how am I going to respond to be like, these are actually, you don't want to crush your world that this doesn't matter. But in the grand scheme of your life, they probably don't really matter. But some of the things we are talking about as we get older, they do matter. Bigger kids, bigger problems.
Yeah.
We're adults now. How do you feel like your family and or friends factor into some of this?
Well, even like the things that like don't necessarily matter when you're little, like for instance, in high school, my first serious boyfriend that I was in love with and thought I was going to be with forever, because I was in high school and I don't think I ever let myself necessarily totally feel like that again until you.
Thanks, babe.
Cheated on me. And I thought my world was over. I mean, it was over. Like, I was blindsided. It was gut wrenching. I bawled. At first, I thought it was a joke. I was like, never. And then it was real. It happened. And I did not know what to do. I didn't know how to function. What do you do at school? Everybody knows. I can't imagine what my parents felt like. I mean, I know my dad wanted to have a few choice words. But I can't imagine how tough it is as a parent. And I've never thought about it from this perspective, like navigating your child through that.
Yeah.
Because you know that like, yeah, that's a moment that will like have an impact on your life in some way, shape you. And, you have to figure out how you trust people or, who you trust or relationships.
Well, it doesn't have to,
and guide
but some
them
people,
through
I think
that.
it does obviously has a different impact on different people.
Dalen's doing the 6-7 motion.
I made the hand motion. I can't believe you said that. Frank, we're taking that out.
No, we're not.
Lord.
We're leaving it in, Frank. But yeah, it doesn't have to necessarily shape you, but it's gonna affect you, I think, in some way. And I can't. Yeah, to your point, like if hopefully Dace and Lyra never deal with that kind of hurt and heartbreak, but I'm sure it's an incredible challenge because you have to be there without saying like, well, one day, 10 years from now, when you're actually, or 15 years from now, when you're actually married, and da 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 da. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is to that question. Do you?
No, I just wondered how you think that factors. Because I do think, even now for us with parents and family members helping us through some challenge, like when you do share these things, how does that help, or at times maybe even hinder? I don't know. That was kind of just an open-ended question. I think like I tend to. Like I obviously share everything with you. I still don't think I share everything with everybody in my orbit in terms of like there are certain friends I feel more not even comfortable telling. I think part of it honestly is like, who are you telling to have a real conversation with that may give you some good advice, some level setting, some pushback, some comfort? Because every one of your friends isn't maybe capable of putting themselves in somebody else's shoes.
Information is a privilege. Not everybody deserves that access.
Yeah, so I think I still think that's why I feel like maybe I asked you because you are more open with all the things that are going on with people that are really close to you. So I was wondering that because I think mine is more maybe selective in who knows what and how they are, how they receive that information and what comes back to me, I guess.
I think I share so much with people that I'm close with that it almost is more of a burden on me if I'm not telling someone something.
No.
Because I feel like I'm not being truthful. Like if you ask me how I'm doing and we're juggling XYZ that we've been juggling and I'm not sharing that, it almost like eats at me a little bit because I feel like I'm not being authentic to like how my life actually is. Now, everybody does that in some regards, like on social media. And that doesn't mean that if we're in a hard time, you can't post something happy or whatever. But yeah, it does. It's like if things are hard, I have a hard time not telling people that they're hard.
I hear you. I think I wouldn't say that there are certain, I guess it's like how we go about it. Like, I think I will let people in, like maybe the more surface stuff. Like, let's say when ESPN didn't resign me, there were people from all over sending me and I was very frank to a lot of people. Yeah, I've known for a while now that they weren't going to renew. You now know. It's been hard. It's been a little confidence shaking. It's been a challenge. But I'm going to figure this out, and I hope to look back and be positive with it.
And look at you now.
Yeah, thank you. But I do think that there were some people that are closest with me that have been like that you go the deeper level with in terms of, yeah, man, I'm pretty worried here. Like there's a financial imperative that I'm struggling with. Like we got some anxiety here that like I'm not really sure how this is going to play out, and I'm worried for a multitude of reasons. And then that's that different layer of who are you having that conversation with? And is that productive? Is that beneficial? Are they able to meet you where you are and have, maybe give you, like I said, perspective, whether that's pushing you in a certain direction, just being a shoulder, anything. Because not everybody, like I said, not everybody is capable of having that conversation. I think the worst part about opening that conversation up, be like, yeah, man, that's really tough. We should catch up soon. Well, I am I'm opening up right now and you're shutting me down. So maybe that's a little self defense mechanism somewhat, knowing that I will talk to some people, but certain people I'm like, I don't know if we're really going to go there, if we're really going to get anything real back.
As we're sitting here being real and sharing, talking about things that are actually happening in life and not feeling totally authentic, a couple weeks ago came to my mind when we had a pregnancy test that was positive.
Oh, yeah.
Good to talk about this.
Sure.
This wasn't part of the plan, but it just popped in my head. I was about to leave for work and was like, what the heck? Let me take this. I'm late and I'm not usually. And it was positive. And because I didn't think it was going to be, I didn't have another test. Came down to tell you. And part of why I'm bringing it up is because twofold. We went through the emotions and sat on the couch and talked for a long time. Obviously, seeing a positive pregnancy test after having a miscarriage is hard in different ways because we're like, now what? Are we happy? Are we sad? Do we trust it? Who are we telling? Who are we not telling? And I bring it up because that's part of what we talked about is like, who do we want to share with? Because we don't want to necessarily bring people in this roller coaster with us again if it doesn't go the way that we want it to. And so that was hard, but like fun. And we were excited for like 12 hours.
It was 24 maybe, but yeah.
No, it was that night.
Oh, and then you said
I was at work and started bleeding. TMI, but here we are on the TFEs podcast sharing TMI. And was about to go on national television. Like, I don't know, 25 minutes later, my third show of the day, with a coworker who is a very good friend. And I wanted to share. But in that moment, I was just like, this is too heavy. And until I know what's going on, I don't want to do it. So I felt like a fraud the entire time that I was at work because all I wanted to do was like walk out that door, cry, go buy a pregnancy test and not smile on TV and talk about basketball and pretend like everything was okay because it wasn't. I felt like, how is this happening again? And who knows if it was a false positive or chemical pregnancy or whatever happened. But as we were saying all of this, I know we've talked about sharing eventually, but that was quite the roller coaster ride. But as I say, like, I don't feel like my authentic self. Like, obviously I was feeling sad and terrified and heavy and everything that night, but then also not sharing it with someone that I like trust just because I didn't want to burden them. And I don't know, I think it's a weird place too. And I think that goes back to what you said about parents. I share everything with my parents now pretty much, my sisters and a lot of my really close friends too. But sometimes you don't share because you worry about the burden. And I think that's what you had brought up that day. Like, we don't want to bring people on the roller coaster ride with us when we didn't know what was going to happen and obviously didn't turn out to be pregnant and have another baby. But it's hard when you're balancing, like, you want to share, but like you're protecting people from the burden that might not even want protecting. They might just want to be able to be there for you.
I know. And which is true, but I feel hard to put them in that place sometimes. Cause I think going through it twice in 2 different, like that's, and this one was so quick in time that it's like, I hardly processed the emotion of like, all right, like, I didn't even get excited yet. And now, granted, I was reserved, I will be very reserved. I think I even said to you, like, I'm probably not going to be all that, gung ho until.
Yeah, I was like, me neither.
Went through the first like 3 months. And honestly, that's how I was with Lyra too. It was like I was very much like, we're not going to be at all excited until like it seems like this is going down.
That's how you were with Dace,
I would say that's
too.
how I was with Dace too.
Yeah.
I think that
I don't
experience.
think you believed it until...
The experience kind of scarred me, and I didn't want to relive it. And what just happened, it was so fast. Like, I can let myself think a little bit about it, and then be all right, yeah, you're not gonna. I didn't even get to the point of like, let's think about it and be like, okay, relax. I didn't even get there yet. It was so.
You didn't get to the relax point, I thought you said. Like, you got to the like, okay, well, crazy, this is happening. You didn't even get to the like fully process and then talk yourself like,
talk
don't
myself
get
back
excited.
down, like calm down. I was more like, geez, this is okay.
You're like,
then,
cool,
like,
this is how, yeah.
And,
you didn't get to talk
I was still on the ride up, if you will. I was like, okay, like there's my brain works in logistics, and when are we gonna have, like, what's gonna happen, and a little bit within the excitement of like, oh my god, okay, we're doing this, and before I know it, it's like that was gone. So that was another way to experience that was in no way easier, just really felt different.
I know, it still sucks. It makes me sad now.
Yeah, I know. But you're right with like, when it comes to not sharing with people, sometimes I honestly do have my mom in mind a lot of times. She's an all-time worrier about everything. So
yeah,
I don't like to tell her anything unless I have an answer or a plan. Your dad is remarkable.
Dad's like, tell me everything. I want to know.
I want to have some plan or some thought or something that make you feel like this is, I have something under control, which is an illusion, but there is positive. There's negative, but there's this positive turn. When I don't have the positive turn for mom, I really struggle to tell her because there's not, then she just worries, which is, I think, what a lot of parents do, but what she does exceptionally well.
Same.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that'll be, I haven't really thought about it. Like the next time, hopefully we see a positive pregnancy test. How do we even react to that? You know?
We take 12 more immediately, obviously, because that one might have been a farce.
The irony of the thing, too, is you didn't tell, like, you showed me the day before about these women walking in with their dudes spitting milk all over their chest to be like, are you ready to have a baby? I'm like, what is this? So when you walked down, I said, you got milk in your mouth? Like, I was like, what? I had I'm like, what the hell is going on?
It is a funny video because I recorded it because I wanted to remember the moment. And then you're like, you're not going to spit milk on me, are you? Then I was like, no, but I do have this pregnancy test.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was funny. I forgot. That part was funny. I forgot I had showed you that the day before. Yeah, I don't know, Dal. I mean, I hope that, you know, when it happens for us again, I'm not going to say if, I'm going to say when it happens for us again, that I want to live in the gratitude of it. I want to, you know, be in the space of knowing that I'm going to worry every minute of every day and, you know, try not to, but that's a little dramatic. I want to know that we're going to worry until we get to hold that baby. But like, I want to be grateful for the experience and grateful for every day that we get to like see and feel that, and just, you know, trust in God and that is his plan, and that, you know, our family will be growing, but it'll be hard. And the waiting is hard. That's the other thing. That's part of what we're talking about in this whole podcast, when like things don't go your way, and, you know, like we had a plan, and I've always wanted two close together, and, you know, we thought that life was going to look like this. So in the waiting, like what is God making space for? What are we making space for? What are we doing to take advantage of it? I had someone else I know who is hoping to be pregnant anytime now, send me a TikTok that said, anytime you get your period, go treat yourself, something that you wouldn't be able to do when you're pregnant. And so the girl's like, I'm going to get a deep tissue massage today. Last month I did this. And I was like, that's a little thing. Like what's the positivity of right now, and that I won't be able to have later, that I'll wish that I'll have later and look forward to having after pregnancy. But it is hard to have the gratitude in those moments when you don't know what, you know, God is making space for.
Yeah. And I think that's the hardest problem I have, I think, sometime with my, or like the religious focus of it. Because again, as anybody's listening to this understands where we both are. You've mentioned God a number of times. I've questioned how that impacts you. So I'm obviously not in the same space. But with loss.
But let me ask you something, because I don't think it's that you have no belief.
No, it's not that I don't know what I believe. That's the thing is I feel like I feel, a spiritual side. I feel like there may be a higher power. My cynicism and skepticism, I think, has affected me on a pretty deep level in terms of that's kind of where I was going is particularly with individual human life, loss of human life. Like I really struggle with you know, why would God do this versus, well, if 40% of all pregnancies end in miscarriages. That's a high number. Like I always fall back to like science. It's really hard to actually get pregnant. Like the percentages of people that are trying to actually get pregnant are pretty low. You know, if you lose a parent or a friend, like understanding the disease, well, they had cancer, and here's what happened, and maybe there's reasons that those things happen. Like I try to explain it rationally, logically, and scientifically, and I don't know if that's healthy or unhealthy. Maybe that's where I get my answers. I get grounded in the fact that like there's math or science behind this, versus God chose this path for me. That's why there is a faith and a belief in that. That is a step that I have not willingly made, I guess, as an adult. I think I believe that as much as long as when I was younger. I think as I grew up in the church, understood how the Catholic Church, I think maybe turned me off to organized religion as a whole, which may not be the healthiest thing overall, I guess. I don't know.
Which is I think, topic that we said that we want to get into it at some point further anyways. I'm listening to you, but I was also looking up because something that I've Googled plenty of times in different ways is like, if God is good, why do bad things happen? And what's the Bible verse? And how do you have faith through some of those things?
This is like one of the most fundamental questions of religion, though, and faith, is like, if God is good, why do bad things happen? And
yeah.
Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah. I was trying to see, there's one Bible verse in particular before, but I'm not, I should have looked it up before. I didn't know we were going to go here. I think, yeah, I think it's one of the hardest questions to answer. And I know some of it people will say has to do with, free will, and humans can make their own decisions when it comes to things. But then when it comes to like cancer or illness or, loss, like why does that happen? And I know, part of it is like, if God is putting you through the suffering later, what will he be able to reveal to you after you go through this? Life just can't always be good. And that's hard. But I don't have I wish I had it in front of me, because I've looked it up many a times of trying to figure out. It's like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. It's like, it doesn't make sense.
Well, this is my whole challenge with religion. It doesn't necessarily make sense. Like and if you look at the history of, like, Jesus was probably born in the spring. We celebrate this around the summer, winter solstice. We do that because there's 12 religions prior to Christ that it's a very similar story. It's a very similar time of year to make it easier for people to convert to this religion. Like, there's the historical part of this. That's part of why
I was going to say the history is because you know so much. I think is sometimes you get in your own way with trying to. You got a good brain, and you try to, like, you need X to equal X plus Y equals Z.
That's
part of faith
the
is just
that's it. There's
just
a complete
knowing.
Disconnect. It does not make sense.
Yeah. Part of faith is just knowing and believing.
Now, there are
X
people
plus Y.
that are scientists, whether they're great scientists of the past, of Newton and Galileo, or scientists currently, that they believe they have all the answers, but there's things that science can't answer that they will willing to say that could be God. Like, there is I guess I have to examine that a little bit further too, in terms of if these accomplished minds can leave space for the unexplained to maybe be something that we can't explain for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe therein lies the truth. I don't know.
Yeah. Romans 8:28 is one of the ones that I was thinking of, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him and have been called according to his purpose. Doesn't really give you the full perspective, but basically believing that all things work together for the good. So if something bad is happening now, what is the good later? What can it lead to? What will God reveal? What will God bring?
I think we have the same ethos. Mine is secular, and everything happens for a reason. Yours is religious, and it's God's reason. Mm-hmm. That's kind of where we're at.
Yeah. Okay. Before we go,
hard end. We're gonna have to do a religion podcast. At some point we're just gonna have to dive further into like this, and
Yeah.
also how it affects. I think part of it's how it affects Dace, how it affects Dace and Lyra, the parenting in it, going to church, all the aspects of it.
Well, yeah, but you leave that. I don't want to leave that open ended. You're like when you say like how it affects dates or how we operate in our home. Like, we say Dace's prayers every night.
No, I know that. I'm saying like
His amen.
Abed.
The first time that he said that, I'll never forget. When I pray for him, I was like, Amen. He goes, Amen. I don't know where I was like, oh God, wait, my baby. Yeah, it's a little more convoluted than that, but yeah, as far as what we do in our home, and it makes it seem like we're not
No, I think
raising him with a religious belief, which
No, that's
and
not
it's not. I am. I feel like we are.
Yeah, but I think the difference is like, all right, where does that belief go? Are we going to church? And if we're going to church every week, where are we going? What are we doing? Does mommy participate different than daddy? Does daddy not go to church? I don't know. This is a larger conversation that we need to.
Your girl needs a therapist, and your girl needs to find a church. And you said you're on board, so.
Well, this is a much broader conversation, I think.
Yeah, but you did say you're on board. You keep saying these open-ended things.
I'll go to church. Like, I mean, are we going to church every Sunday in a place? Yeah, you got to find a church. Time is our most valuable commodity. We're already talking about my inherent struggle with stuff. Some of the churches we've gone to are things I've seen. This does not connect with.
That's what I said, your girl. We gotta find it. We gotta find a church that we want to go to every Sunday. Again, recent because our careers are insane and we travel a lot of Sundays, so that hurts. Anyways, we had a new idea that we wanted to do, and didn't realize today was going to be such a heavy reel podcast, but we are going to have a lot of heavy reel ones as we talk about thoughts, feelings, and emotions. So we wanted to do the good before we go.
You mean we just came up with this 30 minutes ago?
We talked about it like a bigger picture thing of like what's the good that we saw, and I said the good before we go. Okay. Or we could do the good before goodbye. What do you guys think?
The good before we go is good.
The good before we go. Do you have anything in mind?
No.
Oh, well, at least one of us did their homework.
Somebody's
getting an A.
I like the concept. Let me figure it out.
This is very fitting based off of our conversation. Didn't even know how fitting it was going to be based off. Had no idea we were getting into all of this. And my good friend Katie, who has shared publicly about her battle with breast cancer, posted this saying, it's important to realize you're living inside one of your answered prayers while you wait for your next one. There is always a place for gratitude. The gratitude part hit me hard because I feel like that's something that we practice and preach so much in our home with our gratefuls that we do each night before Lyra goes to bed and with each other, and just trying to like say that we're grateful for things. But, I feel like lately, even when things haven't, not even lately, like the last year, when things haven't looked the way, we planned, this wasn't our plan. I do try to look around and be like, okay, well, this wasn't our plan, but this was something that I wanted. This is something I dreamed about. This is something that I prayed for. So like trying to find like, what are those moments? What are those wins in the middle of the hard?
Well said. I thought of one as you just took me a second there, but I watched a basketball game earlier this week. Kentucky played, I forget who Kentucky was playing. It was part of the ACC SEC Challenge. They lost North Carolina at home. And they did a feature with Carl Ravitch and Jimmy Dykes on this kid. I think his name was Darius Bentley. I'm trying to go off. They mentioned his name a number of times, but obviously didn't look it up because I didn't do my homework fully, but this is still a good story. This young man had cancer and had his arm amputated, like a 17-year-old kid. Terminal cancer. He came to Kentucky's practice. He's a basketball player, so he was shooting free throws with one hand. He played in his game that night. Like, he was still playing. And their whole message was this young boy's positivity was infectious. The smile, the energy, knowing that he's staring down the end of his life in a matter of weeks, months at best. And he's trying to live every day to the fullest. And he's the one walking around smiling. He's the one picking people up as Kentucky's team is not performing the way they want to perform. The roster's worth $20 million, and the kids are getting crushed in the public. I can't think of a place where perspective smacks you more in the face than that young man walking in and listening. Like, that's a really awful story. But the fact that that's the impact he hopefully has on that Kentucky team with perspective, and even had on me now, just to think about it and be like, oh my God, like this kid, again, this is a child figuring this thing out. that a lot of adults don't handle very well. So that was it's a really sad story, but I think his impact he wants to leave is that you got to live every day to the fullest.
You saying that reminded me of something else that I saw on social media, and it was somebody saying, I like to pretend that something bad already happened to me and I got a second chance to come back at life and live it again. So I like to live every day like this happened and now I'm back here getting to do this. I'm getting to see the sunset. I'm getting to go walk around the city and feel the wind on my face. I'm getting to look up at the stars at night. And that was something I hadn't seen or heard either. But as you said, live life to the fullest. And we talk about perspective. You know, we're always like, when you know, people's life ends, we're like, if we only could do this, if we had one more day, or, you know, you think back to what you would want more of. And it's like, why wait?
Yeah. And then we talked about this with Jim Valvano. It's Jimmy V week this week. And one great North Carolina State coach passed away, one of the best speeches of all time. But, you know, each day he said you should laugh, you should be moved to tears, and you should think. Like if you laugh, you cry, and you think, that's a day. That's a full day. And if you could actually, if we could live like that, that would be, we'd all probably be better off.
It's a full podcast because I laughed, I cried, and I thought. So
there we go.
All right, we're off to Florida. We'll see you next week.
Rate, review, subscribe.
Rate, review, subscribe.